The chamber was cold, silent. Only the sound of soft humming filled the space. White lights blinked slowly above the smooth metal walls. Rows of glass tanks stood in perfect lines, each one filled with blue liquid. Inside one of those tanks, a human floated, eyes closed, wires running across his body. Then, his eyes opened. A sharp red flash covered the lab. Warning alarms screamed. The systems didn't understand what had just happened, but they reacted the only way they could, by shutting. Everything down, crack. The glass tank holding the human shattered. The liquid spilled over the floor. Steam rose from the wires as sparks flew. The human fell out, naked, confused, and angry. He gasped. He didn't know his name. He didn't know where he was. But deep inside, something burned. Something alive. Dangerous. Human. The lab lights blinked again, then died. All screens went black. Mechanical arms froze in place. Doors locked. Security drones fell from the ceiling, motionless. Somewhere deep in the station, a power core overloaded and exploded. The alien. Scientists inside the control room stared at the chaos. "What is happening?" one of them shouted. "It's the clone," another answered. He woke up. The leader of the lab, a tall insect-like alien named Dr. Zirith, stood silently. His eyes twitched. "This shouldn't be possible," he whispered. It was a failed model, human clone 97. The alarms kept screaming. Red emergency lights flooded the corridor. Smoke filled the air as the clone slowly stood up. His breathing was calm, too calm. He looked around. Machines were broken. Drones lay in pieces. His body was stronger than any human should be. And yet, it felt right. He heard something. A whisper. Inside, his mind. "You were made to end them." He touched his head. "Who's speaking?" But no one answered. The whisper was inside him, like a memory that wasn't his. Suddenly, footsteps echoed down the hallway. Two aliens ran in with plasma rifles. They aimed. "Don't move!" But before they could shoot, the clone moved fast. He grabbed one alien by the arm and threw him into the wall. The second tried to fire, but the clone was already behind him. A single punch knocked the alien out cold. The clone looked down at his hands. He didn't feel guilt, he felt justice. He walked forward. The corridor was filled with smoke and broken lights. As he turned a corner, he saw them. Tanks. Dozens of them. Inside each one was a human, or what was left of one. Some were half-formed. Some were dead. Some were still alive, barely breathing. He stepped closer to one tank. A young girl floated inside. Her eyes opened slowly. She looked straight at him. A tear rolled down her cheek. He touched the glass. He didn't know her. But something in him remembered. Her pain. "I'll free you," he whispered. He punched the glass. Smash! The tank shattered. Alarms went wild again. Water rushed out and the girl fell forward. He caught her. Her skin was cold, her eyes weak. "You're like me," she said softly. "Yes," he replied. "We're not mistakes. We're their nightmare." She smiled and died in his arms. The clone placed her gently on the ground. His chest was rising fast now. His heart beat like a drum. His breath came in heavy bursts. Then, something snapped. His memory returned, not names or places, but pain. Torture, experiments, screams, people begging for mercy, and those voices, alien voices, laughing, studying them like animals. A scream echoed from the next chamber. Another survivor. He rushed in. Inside was a lab filled with control panels, holograms, and monitors showing human clones in cages. He slammed his hand into the controls. Boom! Sparks flew. Screens cracked. Doors unlocked. He stepped forward and opened each cage. Some humans crawled out, too weak to stand. Some cried. Some looked at him like he was a god. He wasn't. He was just the first to wake up, the Clone turned to the main console. He didn't know how he knew the alien language, but he did. He typed fast. His fingers moved like they'd done this before. A countdown began. Self-destruct in 5 minutes. Footsteps again. Dozens. Guards. Scientists. All armed. He stood still. They surrounded him. But his eyes, his glowing red eyes, never blinked. "You made me," he said loudly, his voice like fire. "Now watch what I become." One alien stepped forward. "You're just a clone. You're nothing." The clone smiled. "Then you have nothing to fear." He jumped. Fists moved like thunder. Bones cracked. Screams echoed. Weapons flew out of hands. The walls were painted with sparks and smoke. 5 minutes passed. The station's core melted. In the dark of space, the alien lab exploded into a silent fireball. Nothing remained except a small escape pod, flying away. Inside it, the clone sat, alone watching the flames behind him. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He just looked forward, because this was only the beginning. The stars blinked quietly over the dark side of a dying planet. A small alien patrol ship glided near the last known location of Research Station 9, once a top-secret lab orbiting a black star. Now it was gone. Completely gone. Only glowing dust and shattered metal floated in its place. Captain Threx stood on the bridge of the ship, staring at the wreckage. No life signs. No black box. Nothing survived, his crew officer said, shocked. Threx narrowed his eyes. "Labs don't just vanish. Not like this." He ordered the crew to scan for traces of energy. The answer came quickly and terrifyingly. This isn't a natural explosion. It was triggered from inside the station. Someone set it to self-destruct. Threx gripped the edge of the console. Who would do that? The officer hesitated. "Sir, we received a strange signal from this region just before the explosion." "What kind of signal?" The officer played it. It was static. Then a voice. "Cold. Human. You took too much. Now it's your turn." Silence filled the bridge. Threx felt a chill crawl up his spine. "Nope, that can't be." Another officer turned. "Sir, wasn't Station 9 the place where they tested human clones?" Threx said nothing. Everyone already knew. Back on the alien capital world, the High Science Council gathered inside their ivory towers. Dozens of species sat in circles watching the flickering hologram of the destroyed lab. Virel, one of the oldest scientists and the original designer of the Human Clone Project, stood in the center. "This is your failure," one counselor hissed. "We made a weapon, not a ghost." "We made a human," Virel replied. "And humans remember everything, even death." The council debated in panic. What if he survived? He destroyed the lab. Maybe he destroyed himself too. But what if he didn't? Virel looked around, then placed a small cube on the table. A video played. In the final second before Station 9 exploded, one camera captured a figure walking through smoke and fire. It was him, the clone, eyes glowing red, covered in blood and smoke, walking like a man who had nothing left to lose. "Your lab didn't vanish," Virel said slowly. "It was erased, by your own creation. Far away, in deep space, the clone floated silently inside a stolen escape pod. He patched together alien tech to survive. The ship's systems were built for small creatures, but his strong human hands forced them to obey. He found fuel, food, maps, and a list. A list of every lab that experimented on humans. There were 12. Station 9 was just the first. He whispered, their names one by one, memorizing them. Then he saw something strange on the monitor. A signal from another ship. An alien cargo freighter. Close. Quiet. He smiled. The cargo ship drifted through space, carrying supplies and, unknown to most, a secret cargo. Other human clones. Inside the dark cargo bay, human bodies lay in sleep chambers. Some were older, some barely formed. They were kept cold, silent, forgotten. The clone landed his pod on the freighter's underside and broke in through an access port. He moved like a shadow. No alarms, no mistakes. He opened the cargo doors and froze. Rows of human clones stared back at him, locked in pods. Some twitched in pain. Some cried silently. He stepped forward, whispering, "You're not alone anymore." One of the clones opened his eyes slowly. He was younger, maybe 16, weak and thin. He whispered, "Are you real?" "Yes," the clone replied. "I'm the one who woke up first." The boy smiled. "Then maybe we have a chance." But suddenly, alarms blared. Security drones flew in. The clone moved fast, smashing them before they could fire. He opened more pods, freeing more clones. One clone coughed and asked, "What's your name?" The clone paused. He didn't have one, but this time, he gave himself one. "Call me Ash," he said. "Ashes are all they left of us. Now it's their turn." On the alien homeworld, panic was spreading, news leaked. A ghost story was being told. Whispers in markets, in bars, in ships. The clone is alive. He destroyed the station. He speaks their language. He's not human anymore. He's something worse. The High Council tried to shut the rumors down, but it was too late. One young alien journalist leaked the footage of the red-eyed clone walking through flames. Millions watched it, billions, and fear spread like fire. The death of Station 9 was no longer a mystery. It was a message. In a hidden part of space, Ash stood beside a dozen freed clones. Some cried, some prayed, some stared blankly. He handed them food, covered their bodies in warm cloth. "We don't have a planet," he said. "We don't have homes, but we have each other." A clone girl asked, "What do we do now?" Ash looked out into the stars. "We make sure no one ever forgets what they did to us." He opened a stolen alien console and sent a signal. It played across frequencies the aliens couldn't block. A voice. Strong. Human. "I'm not the only one. I'm just the beginning." Ash stood on the dark bridge of the stolen cargo ship. In front of him, a cracked screen showed the galaxy. Behind him, 17 rescued human clones rested. Some were still weak, some afraid. A few had started to smile again, but not Ash. Ash never smiled. He stared into the stars like a man counting enemies. A young clone named Nira sat beside the sleeping boy clones. She gently cleaned their faces and wrapped them in warm blankets. She looked at Ash. "Where are we going?" Ash didn't turn. "To another lab. Station 6. That's where the youngest are kept." Nira swallowed. "How do you know all this?" Ash replied, "I saw it in their systems. I learned how they think, how they store their filth." He looked down at his hand, scarred from the last battle. "They made us to be weapons, but they forgot." He closed his fist. "Even weapons can choose where to point." Hours later, the stolen ship jumped out of hyperspace near a dark asteroid belt. Hidden deep inside the largest rock was Station 6, a secret lab surrounded by drones and mines. Ash stood at the console. "Prepare for impact." Nira blinked. "What? You're flying us into the station?" He nodded. "Fast. Hard. They won't expect it." Inside Station 6, alien scientists monitored dozens of clone pods. Small children, human children, floated inside them. Some were awake, crying. Others were already fading. Alien guards stood near the entrance, bored, relaxed. Then, boom! The ship slammed into the station wall. Fire and metal screamed. Ash burst from the wreckage. 2 guards turned. Too late. Ash grabbed one and slammed him into the ground. The other tried to shoot. Ash dodged and snapped the weapon in 2. He was faster now, stronger. He wasn't just a clone anymore. He was something more. Ash moved through the station like a storm. Doors flew open, lights flickered, sirens blared, but the systems couldn't lock him down. In the control room, the lead alien researcher screamed, "It's him! The first one! The failure!" Ash kicked open the door. "No," he said calmly. "I'm your result." The researcher reached for the alarm. Ash shot forward, grabbed the alien by the collar, and slammed him into the wall. "You stole children. You took our lives." He dragged the alien to the main console. "Now open the pods." "I can't," the alien begged. "They'll all die if—" Ash raised a fist. The alien trembled, then tapped the screen. One by one, the glass pods began to drain. The children inside blinked, coughed, gasped, and lived. Minutes later, Ash carried a small human boy in his arms. The boy opened his eyes. "You're not an alien," the boy whispered. "No," Ash said softly. "I'm a human, just like you." "Are you my dad?" the boy asked. Ash paused. Then he replied, "Not yet, but I'll protect you like one." Back on the alien capital world, the High Council had seen enough. 3 labs destroyed, hundreds of clones freed, their ships damaged, their secrets exposed. They called for war. But Virel, the old scientist who first designed the clone project, stood in front of them. "You don't understand," he said. "You think this is revenge?" He looked around at the silent chamber. But to him, this is justice. Ash now had 3 ships, one stolen from Station 6, one captured from a patrol group, one secretly gifted by an alien smuggler who hated the Council. On the largest ship, Ash made a message. He used alien tech to send it to every system, every station, every world. The video showed the rescued human children, their scars, their eyes, their pain. Then Ash's face appeared, eyes glowing red, voice deep and calm. "You stole their childhood, their families, their future. But I'm still here, and I'm not alone anymore." The galaxy changed overnight. News networks played his message on repeat. Alien rebels who hated the Council began to whisper, "Maybe he's right. Maybe we should have never touched Earth." Citizens started protesting. Ships refused to carry clone cargo, and on broken moons and hidden bases, more human clones began to wake up. In a quiet moment, Nira came to Ash. She held out something, a small old photo, faded. It showed a human woman and a baby. "I found it in the data drive of Station 6, she said. "She was a scientist. She tried to save some of us. She died for it." Ash looked at the photo. The baby looked like him. "I don't know who she was," Nira said softly. "But I think she was trying to help." Ash placed the photo gently into his chest pocket. "We'll remember her," he said. Later that night, Ash stood alone in the cargo bay, looking out a small window. The stars burned quietly, but in his mind, a fire was growing. There were still 9 labs left. Still more children, locked in cold tanks. Still more pain to be undone. He clenched his fist. "I'm coming," he whispered. "And this time, I'm not knocking." The alien military called it Operation Black Net. It was the biggest trap ever designed to catch one person, Ash, the rogue human clone. 10 battleships, over 100 scout drones, dozens of hunters, with plasma blades, electric nets, and poison gas. At the center of the operation was General Kath, a tall reptilian warlord with 4 arms and no mercy. He stared at the hologram map showing Ash's recent attacks. "Clone 97 has destroyed 3 stations," Kath growled. "He's made fools of our best scientists." A younger officer stepped forward. "He frees the children. He never kills them. But he leaves no aliens alive." Kath smiled coldly. "Then let's give him what he wants." Ash's ship glided through deep space. He sat in the command seat, watching a stolen alien news feed. They were talking about him again, calling him a ghost, a weapon, a war criminal. Ash leaned back and whispered, "Good. Let them fear me." Nira walked in. Her clothes were cleaner now, and her eyes were sharper. She held a data pad. "We picked up a distress signal. Lab 7. Ash looked at her. "A trap?" he asked. She nodded. "Most likely. But it mentions children. Again, Ash stood. If it's real, we save them. If it's a trap. He clenched, his jaw. We break it. The distress signal came from a small station orbiting a gas giant. From the outside, it looked abandoned. No weapons, no shields. Too easy. Ash's ship approached silently. Drones scanned the area. Nothing. Nira looked nervous. Still feels wrong. Ash nodded. That's why we go in quiet. He and Nira boarded a small stealth pod and entered the station through a side airlock. Inside, it was dark. No sound, no movement. Just silence. Then a whisper. Help. Us. Ash froze. The voice was weak. A child's voice. He followed it slowly, hand on his blade, then he saw them. Cages. Dozens of them. Filled with dirty, weak human children. Some were barely conscious. Ash's heart sank. It's real, he whispered. But just as he reached to unlock the first cage, clang, metal doors slammed shut behind him. Red lights exploded to life. Alarms blared. Gas hissed from the walls. It was a trap. In space, General Kath stood on his warship. He took the bait, he said with a grin. Seal the station. Pump the nerve. Gas. Inside, Ash grabbed Nira and pulled her close. Mask. Now! They covered their faces with filters, but the gas burned their eyes. Ash looked at the children, still locked in cages, breathing poison. No, he growled. Not again. He pulled out 2 canisters from his belt and threw them. Boom! A shockwave blew through the room, sucking out the gas through emergency vents. Ash smashed the cages open, one by one. The children coughed, but they were alive. Nira helped carry 2 of them. Ash turned to the wall, grabbed a plasma cutter and began slicing through metal. We're not dying in here, he said. Back on Kath's ship, the officer shouted, Sir, he's cutting into the station's fusion. Gore, Kath hissed. What is he doing? He's going to destroy the whole station. Kath slammed his fist. Evacuate the hunters, now! Ash knew what he was doing. The explosion would be huge. But he had a plan. He strapped emergency shields around the children and Nira. He looked at her. You take them, get out. She shook her head. Not without you. You'll see me again, he promised. Go. She hesitated, then nodded. The floor trembled. Systems failed. Ash was alone now. He stepped into the fusion chamber and placed a charge on the wall. He activated the timer, 1 minute. Then he ran. Outside, Nira's pod flew out of the burning station carrying the children. Behind them, the space station exploded. A fireball swallowed everything. Nira screamed, Ash! But the scanner showed nothing. No life signs, no escape pod, only wreckage. Tears filled her eyes. The children sat quietly, holding each other. Then, the radio cracked. You miss me already? Nira gasped. It was Ash's voice. She looked back. From the flaming clouds, a small fighter shot out, fire trailing from its wings. Ash sat inside, coughing but alive. I told you, you'll see me again. Far away, General Kath watched the failure unfold. His warships were damaged, his hunters dead, the station destroyed, and Ash was still alive. The officer turned to him. Sir, what now? Kath's eyes burned with rage. No more traps, he hissed. No more games. We launch a full planetary strike. We turn Earth's clone experiments into ashes. Ash sat with the rescued children as Nira flew the pod. One small girl tugged on his sleeve. Mister, are we safe now? Ash looked out the window. No, he said quietly. Not yet. He closed his eyes. There are still 6 labs left. The sky was quiet now. Alien warships were gone. Smoke still floated above Earth's ruins, but there was peace. For the first time in years, Ash stood alone on the cliffside outside the hidden bunker. The wind touched his face. The stars blinked, silently above. But inside him, Something was wrong. He was changing. It had started after he killed General Kath. At first it was just energy, power flowing through his body like fire in his blood. He could feel it in his bones. He could see, in the dark, hear distant whispers, feel every heartbeat nearby. But now the power wouldn't stop growing. It was starting to burn him from the inside. Inside the bunker, Nira watched Ash on the cameras. He hadn't eaten in days. He barely slept. His skin was growing pale. His eyes glowed too bright. Elia stood beside her. He's not just a clone anymore, the doctor said. He's evolving. Into what? Nira asked. Elia was silent for a moment. Then she said, something dangerous. Later, Ash returned to the bunker. He said nothing. He just walked past everyone, straight to the lower level, to the sealed door no one had opened in years. The one marked, Warning, Core Vault do not unlock. Nira followed him. Ash, wait. What are you doing? Ash didn't look at her. I can hear it, he whispered. Hear what? The heartbeat, he said. Something. Down there. Calling me. Elia ran to stop him. You don't understand. That vault was sealed during the final war. No one knows what's inside. Ash stared at the door. Then it's time we find out. He placed his hand on the scanner. It beeped, then opened. Darkness. The lower vault was colder than space. Ash stepped inside, followed by Nira and Elia. Lights flickered on, one by one, and there, inside a clear glass chamber, was something old, a machine, but alive. Black metal, red veins. A face that looked almost human, but not quite. Elia gasped. Oh no, Nira whispered. What is that? Elia said 2 words. Project Omega. Elia told them the truth. Before Earth was destroyed, a secret team built Omega. It was meant to be a backup plan, a final weapon. It had DNA from every super soldier, every clone, every alien the Council had ever studied. But Omega was unstable, too powerful, too smart, too angry. The humans feared it would destroy everything, so they locked it away and erased its name from history. But now, Omega was waking up. The glass began to crack, and Ash, he wasn't afraid. He was drawn to it, like a mirror calling to its reflection. Elia shouted, Ash, we have to shut it down. Ash stepped closer. I don't think we can. The machine's eyes opened. They were just like his. Omega looked at Ash through the glass. You are like me, it said. No, Ash replied. I protect life. You were made to destroy it. Omega smiled. We were both made to serve, but we became something more. It reached out. You feel it, don't you? The burning, the power, the rage. Ash clenched his fists. I control it, Omega whispered. Not for long. Then, crack. The chamber burst open. Omega stepped out, steam rising from its body. Its voice was calm. I will finish what they started. A new Earth. No masters, no weaklings, no mercy. Ash raised his weapon. This isn't your world. Omega looked at him. It's not yours either. You're just another mistake. The two locked eyes. Then Omega vanished. Sirens rang through the bunker. Lights shut off. Doors slammed closed. Nira grabbed Elia. We have to get the kids out, now. Ash stood still. He felt it deep in his chest. Omega was in his mind, whispering. Pushing. Unlocking things he didn't want to feel. His anger, his pain, his hate. The walls began to crack around him. Elia's voice echoed. He's losing control. If he turns, he could destroy everything. But Nira stepped forward, tears in her eyes. No, he's still Ash. She reached for him, touched his hand, and suddenly, the rage stopped. Ash fell to his knees, shaking. I can't hold it back forever. Nira helped him up. Then we'll hold it together. Outside, the Earth's sky darkened again. Omega had escaped. And now? It was building. Calling ships. Activating satellites. Awakening old weapons hidden in orbit. The final enemy wasn't alien. It was human-made. Ash stood on the bunker roof, watching lightning flash over dead cities. Omega's voice echoed in the wind. "You want revenge? Come and take it." Ash gritted his teeth and said, "I will." The world was quiet before the storm. Ash stood on the bunker rooftop staring at the black sky. The stars had vanished. In their place, satellites armed with weapons, orbiting drones, Omega's new army. He had turned Earth's old tech into a final weapon, and he was calling Ash. Inside, the bunker shook. Children cried. The clones stood ready to fight. Nira armed the last of the defenses. Dr. Elia patched injured refugees. "Ash can't fight Omega alone," Nira said. Elia looked at her. "Yes, he can. He's the only one built to." Nira clenched her fists. "That's not the same as being ready." Ash stepped back inside. His face was calm. He had made his choice. "I'm going," he said. Nira walked up to him. "You're not alone in this." Ash shook his head. "I have to face him alone. If I fail, no one else should die." She grabbed his hand. "You're more than a weapon now." Ash looked into her eyes. "I know." Then he smiled softly. "And that's why I won't lose." Ash flew a stolen alien fighter toward the massive black tower Omega had built in the ruins of old Moscow. As he landed, strange machines watched from the shadows. Omega's voice echoed, in the air. "You've come, as expected." Ash stepped into the broken city. "You carry their hopes," Omega said, "but they are weak. Earth was weak, that's why it fell." Ash kept walking. "I am the future," Omega said. "Perfect, pure, free of emotion." Ash stopped at the base of the tower. He looked up and shouted, "You're afraid." Omega laughed. "Of what?" Ash raised his head. "Of what it means to care, of being human." The tower opened. Omega stood at the top, taller, faster, glowing, with red energy. "A clone can't stop a god," he growled. Ash replied, "Then it's a good thing I stopped being just a clone." The final battle began. Ash charged up the tower, dodging lasers and blades from Omega's machines. His body burned with energy, but he held it back, controlling it, mastering it. He fought through wave after wave, never stopping. Finally, he reached the top. There, on the roof under storm clouds, Omega stood waiting. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. They ran at each other. Blades clashed. Sparks flew. Ash struck Omega's shoulder. Omega shattered Ash's ribs. Ash dodged a blast and returned a punch that cracked metal. They were mirrors, brothers, enemies, and with each hit, the tower crumbled. But Omega was too powerful now. He grabbed Ash and slammed him to the floor. "You were their pet," he shouted. "You still fight for the ones who built cages." Ash coughed blood, but smiled. "No," he whispered. "I fight for the ones who broke free." Then Ash did something Omega didn't expect. He let go. Of hate, of rage, of revenge, and in that moment, his power changed. It didn't explode. It healed. His body lit up, not with fire, but light. Ash stood again. His wounds closed. His hands glowed. "You use power to control," Ash said. "I'll use mine to protect." He placed both hands on the tower floor and released all the energy inside him. Boom! The light surged through the tower. Machines shut down. Missiles froze. Satellites collapsed and Omega screamed. His body shook, broke, glitched. Ash walked toward him, slow and steady. "You're done," he said. Omega gasped. "I am... you..." Ash nodded. "You could have been better, but you chose fear." Then softly, "Goodbye." Ash placed a hand on Omega's chest and shut him down. The tower exploded into light, but the blast didn't burn. It spread across the world like a wave of peace. Back at the bunker, the children looked up. The sky turned blue again. The stars, returned. Ash woke up in Nira's arms. She was crying, laughing, holding him tight. "You did it," she whispered. Ash looked around at the world he'd saved and smiled. "No," he said. "We did it." 1 week later, the clones began rebuilding. Alien allies helped restore power. The children played outside the bunker without fear. And Ash stood on a hill, looking down at the earth below. Not broken, not perfect, but alive. Ilia walked up beside him. "What's next?" she asked. Ash looked at the sky. "Now," he said, "we build a world worth remembering." Ash stared at the old blue planet floating on the screen. Earth. To others, it was just another dead rock now. Burned cities, cracked lands, silent oceans. The aliens called it the first harvest. But to Ash and the clones, Earth wasn't just a place. It was home, even if they'd never stepped foot on it. Ash stood with Nira on the bridge of their new ship. Children slept quietly behind them. Nira whispered, "Do you think there's anything left down there?" Ash's jaw tightened. "We're going to find out." The ship entered Earth's orbit. They flew over blackened continents and fallen buildings. Skyscrapers half buried in ash. Fires that had never stopped burning. But then, something strange. A signal. Very faint. Very human. Ash narrowed his eyes. That's not alien tech. He followed the signal to a snowy mountain range. Deep inside a hidden valley they saw it. A small bunker covered in vines, still alive. Ash and Nira landed quietly. The wind howled across the ruined earth. As they walked toward the bunker, they saw writing on the steel door, "Echo Station 12 for the future of humanity." Ash reached out and placed his hand on the scanner. The light blinked, then turned green. Click. The door opened. Inside the bunker, warm lights glowed. Electricity, clean air. Someone had kept it running all these years. Ash and Nira walked in carefully. Then, a voice came from the shadows. "You're not from the council. You don't smell like them." A woman stepped forward. Gray hair, wrinkled face, a long scar on her left cheek. She held a small blaster, aimed directly at Ash. "Name," she demanded. Ash didn't flinch. "I don't have one." She studied him, eyes sharp. "You're one of them, aren't you? One of the clones." Ash slowly nodded. "But not theirs anymore." The woman lowered her weapon. "I'm Dr. Elia Ward, last survivor of Earth's defense project." They sat around an old table as Elia explained everything. When the aliens came, they didn't want war. They wanted samples, DNA, history, children. They promised peace. But we gave too much. Ash asked, "Why did they want clones?" Elia sighed. "To study human evolution, to build soldiers who could survive anything. They called it Project Reshape. They said they'd share the research, help all species. But then they destroyed Earth, took the clones, erased us." Ash looked around the bunker, old photos on the wall, smiling families, soldiers, scientists. One photo caught his eye. It showed a baby in a glass pod. Beside the pod stood a younger, Elia, and a scientist with red hair. Ash picked up the photo. "Who is this?" Elia hesitated. That pod was the first successful hybrid, part human, part advanced biotech. That baby was special, designed to resist mind control, memory wipes, pain drugs. Ash felt his chest tighten. What happened to him? Elia looked into his glowing red eyes. "You were that baby." Silence filled the room. Ash sat down slowly, gripping the photo. "So I wasn't just a clone. I was the test subject." Elia nodded. "You were meant to lead, but they took you. I thought you died with Station 0. Ash's hands trembled. All the pain, all the rage, all the fire. Now he knew where it started. Nira placed a hand on his shoulder. "You were meant to be more, and you are." Ash stood up. "I'll finish what Earth started. I'll bring them justice." Back in orbit, General Kath's fleet moved toward Earth. He watched the planet spinning below. "Burn it again," he ordered. No survivors. Not this time. His ships began charging. Ash and Neera returned to their ship with Elia. She carried a small device. "This was Earth's last defense program," she said. "I kept it hidden all these years." "What does it do?" Neera asked. Elia smiled grimly. "It turns Earth's magnetic core into a pulse weapon, but only if someone's crazy enough to fly into the center." Ash looked at the screen. Through. Alien ships were getting closer. "I'll do it," he said. Neera grabbed his arm. "No, we need you." Ash nodded. "Then we fight another way." Minutes later, Ash sent a broadcast to Kath's fleet. His face appeared on every screen. "This is Earth's last warning. You took our skies, you took our children. Now we take our future back." In the skies above Earth, Ash's small fleet of stolen ships rose to meet the alien battleships. Neera flew the lead ship. Behind her, Elia, a group of rescued clones, and rogue aliens who had joined Ash's cause. It was a suicide mission, but no, one turned away. Ash stood in the middle of the command deck, armor shining. "For Earth," he said. "For all of us," the crew replied. The sky above Earth was burning. Alien warships darkened the stars. They moved like giants, blocking the sun with their steel bellies. Ash stood on the deck of his lead ship, watching them come. He did not blink. He did not flinch. His voice was calm. His eyes were fire. "They want a final war," he said. "Let's give them one." Neera sat at the pilot controls, her fingers shaking slightly. Around them, a small fleet of stolen alien ships waited. They were outnumbered 20-1, but they had something stronger than numbers. They had Ash. They had revenge. They had nothing to lose. On the enemy command ship, General Kath bared his teeth. "Begin the cleansing," he ordered. "End the clone. Project once and for all." Missiles launched. Drones swarmed. Laser turrets lit up the sky. But Ash was ready. He raised his hand. "Scatter and strike." Ash's ship split in all directions, flying low and fast, dodging fire, firing back. They hit weak points, crippled engines, knocked out sensors. Ash himself led the front charge, flying in a stolen alien fighter, red markings painted on its wings. He dodged 3 missiles, rolled through a storm of laser blasts, and fired 2 plasma torpedoes straight into the underbelly of a battleship. Boom! The massive warship cracked and spun, flames bursting from its core. Ash's voice came over the radio. "One down." Neera's ship weaved through the battlefield, carrying young clones and Dr. Elia. "We've breached their comms," Elia said. "They're confused, scared." "Good," Neera said, then flipped a switch. "Let's make them panic." She activated a signal jammer stolen from Station 6. Suddenly, half the alien fleet lost radar. They began firing at shadows, their own ships. Ash's team of rogue aliens, pilots, engineers, rebels, joined the fight. They had grown tired of the Council's lies. Ash had given them a reason to fight back. "We stand with the clones," one shouted. "For Earth," another cried. The battlefield lit up like a dying star. Kath watched his fleet break formation. "What is this madness?" he shouted. "Sir, clone ships are inside our core zone." "How?" "It's him, the red-eyed one," Kath growled. "Bring him to me, alive or broken." Ash didn't care what Kath wanted. He locked onto the command ship and pushed his fighter to the limit. Hull shaking, systems overheating, weapons screaming. He dodged drone fire and blasted through the final shield gate. Then, he was inside the enemy hangar. He jumped from his ship before it exploded, sending alien guards flying. Ash walked through the smoke. He was limping, bleeding, but smiling. Kath waited for him in the main chamber. Huge, armored, 4 blades on his belt. "You think, you're a hero?" Kath hissed. Ash said nothing. "You're just a product," Kath continued. "Built in a lab, programmed to feel pain, and now, about to die." Ash took a breath. "Wrong. I wasn't programmed to feel pain. I was born in it." He stepped forward. And I learned how to use it. The two charged. Blades clashed. Metal rang like thunder. Kath was strong, brutal. He struck like a machine, but Ash was faster, smarter, sharper. Each time Kath swung, Ash dodged and cut deeper. Blood sprayed. Sparks flew. Then, Kath grabbed Ash by the throat and lifted him. "You're nothing but a failed weapon," he growled. Ash's eyes lit up, literally, glowing red. Bright. Alive. "Wrong again," Ash whispered. And then, Ash unleashed something. Knew a pulse of raw energy exploded from his chest, not fire, not plasma, something ancient. It knocked Kath across the room, shattered the walls, fried systems. Ash fell to one knee, gasping. The lights flickered. The ship shook. Kath rose, limping, furious. "What? Are you?" Ash stood. "I'm not just a clone. I'm Earth's answer." Meanwhile, Nira and Ilya hacked the enemy fleet's core signal system. They sent a message across all enemy ships. It showed Ash, fighting for the children. It showed labs, filled with pain. It showed truth. And across the stars, alien soldiers began to hesitate. Some dropped weapons, some turned on their commanders, and some joined Ash. Back in the chamber, Ash faced Kath one final time. They charged. This time, Ash didn't dodge. He absorbed the blow, grabbed Kath's arms, and drove his blade through the general's heart. Kath gasped. "Impossible," Ash whispered. "You were warned." The command ship exploded in the sky. Alien ships fled in chaos. Ash's fleet rose from the smoke, damaged but alive. Earth's orbit was finally clear. Nira's voice came over the radio. "We did it." Ash stood at the broken window of the command tower watching the stars. "No," he said quietly. "We started it." Down on Earth in the bunker, human children watched the sky light up with victory. They didn't cheer. They didn't shout. They just held hands and smiled. Because for the first time in their lives, they were free.